so as I said, what should we do to flip ourselves from where we are to where we should be? And a lot of this I have already talked about it, but this is where we are as an organization. The new hospital is being built, it's already on the runway, and we've got a lead time till 2023 before we see that A380 lift off of the runway. Okay, we've got our vision remains unchanged. We want to be a leader in how we deliver healthcare to the people of Bahrain, and our mission is rock solid, the same. So in terms of the purpose as an organization, and which every employee should need to know, is that none of that has actually changed. All we're doing is tweaking our strategy so that we will attain our vision and staying solid onto our mission on the ground on a day-to-day basis. And this is typically the Stockdale paradox, okay? Being brutally honest about the reality on the ground and yet focusing on the distant vision of us being a leading healthcare organization, not just in Bahrain but in the GCC. So this is actually Stockdale paradox, not in theory, but actually in action, okay? And again, it comes to the 4 P's that I've actually put there. Purpose. Why do we exist as an organization? People. We are the people for the people of Bahrain. And the process is how creatively can we actually further improve. I mean, we are a very creative, innovative organization. We've got accolades in pretty much everything that we've touched, whether it is NAHRA, whether it's CAP, whether it's ISO. We tick the boxes everywhere when it comes to our standards and benchmarking quality. But it's, as I always say, quality has got no finish line. We need to be more creative in how we tweak the process so that we become much more effective and efficient, and yet at the same time make sure creatively we don't spend too much money, so that we can flip the red to being the black. And our productivity comes from the first 3 P's. Purpose, people, and processes will lead to the productivity. The sum total value we create for our employees and the customers. Our employees are a key part of this. Our employees are a key part of this. Without the people, the purpose cannot be achieved, and the processes will be completely, broken apart. And this is why we invest a lot into our employees, to train them, to develop them, so that they create outstanding processes, so that we will be an outstanding organization. Unfortunately, despite the 4 P's there, it's the culture that actually comes in between and tries to steal, what we're trying to actually do. And culture is actually the magic source of what makes Mayo Clinic Mayo Clinic, or Cleveland Clinic what Cleveland Clinic, and what makes AMH what AMH is. That is the way we do business. That's the secret sauce. And for us, the way we do business, fulfill our mission, is the core values of compassion, love, and grace, and how we care for one another as individuals within the organization, and how we can take that care into the heart of the people or the patients that actually come through our door. If there is a fault line there in how we care for our patients, then that fault line will become a big chasm, and that's where problems begin to appear. Okay, so for me, culture is key in how we overcome the challenges that we actually face. And this is what I would call an ideal employee profile. HR is going to be very busy over the next few months, especially coming to 2022, in how we select our new employees for our new organization. Okay, this is in the on the external context of financial pullbacks, economic downturns. We are still looking to recruit, high flying employees, and this is the kind of profile of employee that I'm looking at. And it's not based on a CV. Okay, CV. Oh my gosh, I see CVs and I'm blown over by how colorful CVs are. But then when you ask one question that's in the CV, and I'll give you a short humorous clip to keep you guys focused on this. So a guy turns up for interview, and the manager is interviewing this guy for some position, and he puts his file in front of the manager, And the manager flips through his file and looks at his qualification. He said, "Oh, for English, you got 94%. He said, "Good." Then he looks through his transcript, and for Hindi, you got 95%. That's even better. So you're multilingual. And then he looks at it and says, "Wow, this is the kind of candidate that we are looking for." And at that point, he switches his interview to English. Till then, he was talking on his mother tongue to the guy. But when he saw that he got a 94 in English and 95 in another language, he switches the conversation to English, and then he asks him a very simple question. "Okay, you're going to be hired in this position. How are you going to communicate to the employees on what the mission of our organization is going to be?" The guy says, "Endo onnoodonu parayam." So this is in Malayalam. It means that, "Can you repeat this question again?" So he said in English again, "Can you tell me how are you going to sort of talk to the employees about the mission of the organization?" The guy is sitting and sweating. And then he says, "Sorry, I have mark." Meaning that that's only in my transcript. Really, I can't speak that much English. When I studied, I got 94%. That's the truth. But I really can't. So he said, "Okay." And he said, he looked at the text transcript, Hindi, 95%. Then he asked him in Hindi. Then he said, "Sara, onnoodonu parayam." He said he didn't understand Hindi as well. And again, he got 95% in Hindi. So what I'm saying is, what appears on your CV has got no connection or recognition to the employee sitting in front of you. And I'm sure HR will have a lot of these humorous experiences when they interview candidates. My God, if you see the CV, you're blown over by the CV. And normally when I see a CV, my first questions would actually be picked up from the CV, or what a candidate has written, not that I flip a question. I take something that is written that catches my attention, and that's my usual first question of the candidate, and I can see the candidate's summary. Okay, so what I was coming is, I'm looking for employees that are key on self-development, they're really competent in what they say they're competent in, they're adaptable to whatever changes that's happening, they have a greater purpose, not only organized, they have a greater purpose in life. I don't want an employee that comes in and says, "Oh yeah, I am a staff nurse, I've worked 5 years in the ICU, and then if you ask her, "Okay, what do you think you're going to be doing in 5 years? I will have 3 more children and I'll be still working in the ICU." Sorry. So that's not an interview answer, for heaven's sake. What is your professional purpose goal? Where do you want to go? So that I can help you get there. And the ability to work as a team, critical in healthcare. We could have some star surgeons appearing who will say that they're going to turn AMH around. But if they can't work with the nurses, they can't work with anybody else, they're a disaster. And finally, the capabilities, how are you adept in keeping your capabilities and competencies at the highest level of your performance? Because what normally happens is you hire someone into an organization and 3 years, their competency level begins to drop. That's not good. Okay, so for those of you who attended GLS know what this is. Okay, BTC stands for bending the curve. We want to bend the curve of everything going down to bending the curve to go up. And NGU means never give up. Regardless of what obstacles you face externally, never give up. There's a lot on that slide, but what I put there is finding and hiring the right people who are willing to learn and grow, and we need to actually manage and reward performance for what their actual performance is. This is why we are looking at revamping all our performance evaluations so that people who are really rewarded for what they actually do. And I talked about patient experience the other day, but I also am interested about employee experience. Our staff engagement is just one metric to measure staff engagement, but there are several other metrics by which we need to look at staff engagement. If you look at our sick leaves, the sick leaves in 2021 has literally gone through the roof. That's because of COVID, I understand that, because of Portman and so on and so forth. But again, absenteeism, coming to work late, these are all, surrogate markers of employees that are not fully engaged. Okay, so it is not just a one-off employee engagement survey. And then what leadership is actually doing is we are optimizing our workforce for current reality, and we are optimizing the staff force for our future. So there will be a readjustment of staff now. In fact, if you ask the physicians, a number of physicians have been realizing a lot of service lines. Nurses, Elise had to cut nursing staff down to bare bone now, and is paying overtime to keep nurses working. So there is going to be a realignment of the workforce based on our current needs, and also to up the staff numbers based on our needs that are going to come in the immediate future. And I always say, all of us have to work towards to foster a culture of learning, trust, transparency in people. That's our value. Without trust, transparency, teamwork, and having a learning culture, we will not be successful as an organization. How do we shape our recovery from the headwinds of COVID? As Todd said, the headwinds of COVID has been pretty strong, not just at AMH, against the country, against multiple organizations, and I'm sure the hotels in Bahrain must be upset with this orange categorization during the holidays. 4 days, they could have got a lot of money, but so these things are external factors that we have no control over. These are things that I have written down. Recouping our patient numbers, improving efficiency, reducing waste, and reducing our fixed cost. This is on my table. Okay, I look at it every day because whatever our vision and long-term strategy is, I have to address this today, tomorrow, next week, next month, because this is what keeps us in the black, to flip from where we are to flip from where we should go. And I'm sharing this with you so that you understand, fully understand what the decisions leadership has to take based on the reality that we actually see around us. Otherwise, the Stockdale paradox becomes a real paradox, in the sense that the reality on the ground we are not seeing, and we are not taking any action because the house is on fire. We haven't called for the fire brigaders yet, hoping that we can put this fire out on our own. Sometimes we may be able to put the fire on our own, but sometimes we really have to call the fire brigade in to come in. Okay, so that's on my desk that I look at it every day. Okay, but what can we do together as an organization? And I talked about it on Monday again. Customer-focused innovation, patient experience. It is critical. That's how we are going to recoup our numbers. Our patients should come, experience the care that they get, and they say the only organization they will go to is AMH. It's just like the lady who came into my office and said, I don't care how many clinics you have, I will still come to Madam. And she lives in South. We have to digitize and automate, and that's happening. Whether you like it or not, that is happening behind the scenes. The only thing is we need you to be cooperative with the IT, with all the new technologies that is coming in, and learn to sort of work with the future. And I always say, keep it simple. Don't innovate by making processes complicated. The whole, they call it robotic process automation, RPA. RPAs is not about making any process more complicated. We want to simplify it. God, if I could not click, I would not use technology. I mean, I need to simply see it and click there and it appears. So you don't want to bring in IT and then make things complicated. It has to be. Understand but do not fear the risk. I understand that everything that is happening around, I understand it, both from a clinical perspective, from a financial perspective, from a bad scorecard perspective. I understand it all, but I do not fear. Okay? That's the part. Yeah, it's not sharing. Don't worry. There's nothing, so you saw that initial side. You have to be realistic about where you are and don't fear the risk that you are facing. And then I said this before, we all have to sort of work towards how can we reduce costs. It could be some simple thing, but it doesn't matter. If you can save 10 BD here, it's 10 BD saved. that's not going to be a burden to the organization. And those slides are not there, but again, this slide was just to reiterate what Todd just said. Some of our numbers are the numbers that we saw in 2017. Our patient numbers are the numbers that we saw not in 2019, in 2017. Okay? And if you think about it, we have 2017 numbers, which means the revenues that's coming in, and our staff numbers are 20% greater than that. If you go back, if we are patient volume is 2017 and our staff numbers was also 2017, then there's no problem because we were growing as an organization. But when we have the numbers of 2017, but our staff numbers are 20% more than that, that is a 20% gap that is actually creating this flip from black to red. So how do we flip it back? Either we increase the patient volume through whatever we do, or we will have to decrease the fixed cost or staff cost so that we can actually flip it back into the black. So, and that's the reality. That's the reality, and I'm glad Todd mentioned it, but I had already made it on the slide. No, don't worry, I don't want to mess with your time. And this is
on the Zoom they usually.
On the Zoom, they're seeing it on the Zoom. So I will tell you what it means. And this is just a slide that says, may the wind always be on your back. It carries you forward. Gratitude is always the true solution to living a fruitful, purposeful, happy life. To being grateful for all that we have in life. Despite the darkest of moments, despite the uncertainties, VUCA, volatile, uncertain, in that environment, if you have a thankful and a grateful heart, you can overcome the greatest of your fears. And on that note, have a wonderful weekend. Next week, I think we are having a short week, isn't it, HR?
Yeah.
Yes. 2 days.
Okay, so we're having a short week, so enjoy this weekend because you're going to have a long weekend, the following weekend. So thank you and have a good weekend. Thank you.